I've been on Pointe for about 3 months now, so I thought I'd give an update video to let you know how I'm getting on and what I'm struggling with. After my first class I made a video and I was commenting about how little it actually hurt being on Pointe, and some of that's still true. There's a bit of pressure and a bit of discomfort being up on Pointe and putting all your weight on your toes, but that doesn't mean to say Pointe shoes are comfortable. I've still had a whole host of problems with my feet and my toes being in the Pointe shoes. My feet are very prone to blisters and hard skin, and I've had that just from the hardness of the shoe and it not being particularly flexible. There was one day I got a friction burn and actually ripped some skin off my toes trying to do a turn in bare feet. So then putting my feet in Pointe shoes afterwards was really uncomfortable. It hurt to go on Pointe that day. One thing surprised me was how uncomfortable I find it having something so hard around your toes, especially this bit here when I'm rolling up. It's a really odd feeling and it's quite uncomfortable sometimes with this bit digging in. But my main problem has been with the heel. I really struggled to find a Pointe shoe that fitted. Everything that was comfortable around the toes was just really baggy around the heels and was just slipping off. And in the end I went for a Pointe shoe that had drawstring all the way around so I could tighten it up around the heel, and then I also stuck some elastic on to try and keep it on. And I spent months trying to get the balance right between having it tight enough that my shoe would stay on but loose enough that it wasn't causing really deep welts at the back of my heel. I was getting really big red indents that made it so uncomfortable to even have my Pointe shoe on. And that was quite frustrating that I couldn't even be in my shoes without being in pain. And while I want to progress in Pointe, I'm not willing to put myself in agony. I'm not willing to sacrifice my feet and my comfort to improve. I'd much rather take it slow and just avoid the pain altogether. So that's been quite annoying. Another thing I found annoying initially was trying to compare myself to others. I do a class with teenagers who are just starting out on Pointe. They're in exactly the same position as I am. They're on their first pair of Pointe shoes, and obviously we all progress at different rates and we can all do different things and we've all got different strengths and weaknesses. And I realised I need to stop going, oh, they can do that now, and rather focus on what I can do and how I've progressed and what I can do this time round that I couldn't do last time round. For example, I can now pas de bourrée piqué. I'm still holding on the bar, probably far too much for anybody's liking, but a month ago I was unwilling to even sort of like test out what I'd be like on one leg. And it's very easy to start thinking, well, where would I be now if I'd started when I was their age? You know, if I was 13, I'd have 15 years of practice under my belt. And then when I do with class with adults, I see those people who have had those 15 years of practice. So that can be difficult sometimes. One of the reasons I was initially unsure if I wanted to start Pointe was knowing that I wouldn't be dancing. I'd be doing lots of exercises just to strengthen my feet and my ankles and my legs and whatnot. So we do a lot of work with resistance bands. We do a lot of stuff at the bar where you're just rising and doing releves, and the logical part of my brain knows that this is absolutely necessary, and the other part of my brain just wants to go and do ballet and think, why would I put myself through this? Why would I do Pointe? Why can't I just dance in my flat shoes? So sometimes I've got to turn that off. And then sometimes we do more complicated things at the bar and my brain decides to have problems with that as well. Normally when we learn exercises, I pick it up like that. I pick it up really quickly. That's one of the things that my class knows me for. I'm the one who always knows the exercises. I always remember what I'm doing. And just because there's that extra layer of trying to tell my feet what to do on Pointe, and it's a completely different feeling, that it takes that bit longer to process it. So even though I know what I'm doing, I can't seem to keep up and do it in time with music, or your brain just goes blank, or it's like, oh crap, that step's next, how the hell do I do that? And you've just sort of missed half the exercise. If I was on flat, I'd be doing this with no problem, and yet because I'm on Pointe, my brain can't even decide to remember it. That's really frustrating. Another thing that's frustrating is that my body doesn't seem to have confidence in my leg strength that my feet will be able to hold me up. So a lot of times I'm gripping onto the bar without realising it, or I'm sort of tensing my shoulders without realising it, and I'm using the bar as a safety net. And then when we move to the centre and it's not there, I don't quite trust my feet yet. So I'm really unwilling to give things a go. And then when you give things a go, it's like, well, you codsed up. So what? Nothing bad happened. You didn't break your leg. You didn't break your ankle. Nobody pointed and laughed at you. You just went wrong. And there's no sort of big outcome or problem with it. But just not being able to do things, or not knowing if you're going to be able to do it, is sort of a mental block. And then along with that, my left ankle is being a pain in the neck and doesn't always want to get over the box. It's definitely my weaker foot, and when we releve in second, it's quite obvious that that foot isn't quite ready to be on point yet. It's quite annoying. Same with emboîtés and with balancing. My right leg is quite ready to take all the weight on its own, and my left foot's like, well, I'll think about it and I might do it, but on the other hand I might not. Another problem I have is just getting to the class. It's on a Saturday morning. Sometimes I work Saturday mornings. Sometimes I work late shifts on Friday night, so I can't always make it. And I can definitely see a decline in my ankle strength when I've missed a few classes. I think the hardest part of Pointe, and the thing that's holding me back, is just my brain. It's so not used to trying something new and then just being useless at it. It's something I'm really sort of struggling to come to terms with, that you can't just immediately jump in and be amazing. There's got to be a hell of a lot of hard work, and progress is going to be slow going. So I can see the incremental improvements, and I am getting there, but it's going to be a long slog, and some weeks that's more frustrating than others. So there's a little update of how Pointe's been getting on. There's definitely been a hell of a lot of frustrations. There are days where I'm just in pain and I hate my feet and I hate my pointe shoes and I hate doing pointe classes and I never want to see my pointe shoes again, and I don't want to do releves. I just want to do normal dancing in my normal shoes, and I just want to enjoy myself and not think about it ever again. And then there are times where you just really, really want to dance on pointe, like when I see the other adults performing and I want to be up there with them, or I see professionals dancing and they just make it look absolutely effortless, and I think of all the hours of training and practice that they've had to put in to get to that stage. Or in some cases even looking at some of the older students in the dance school that I go to, and I remember them when they got their first pointe shoes and they were struggling, and I can see what they can achieve now, and I think, well, in a few years' time that'll be me, and I can look back on all this frustration of not being able to do a lot and think, what were you worried about? It's going to take time. So hopefully if I keep positive, keep practicing, stop taking my pointe shoes off in the middle of the class, I will get somewhere and I can be proud of myself.